Chief Jawad,
Yes, sir.
welcome everyone to our Sunday class, and we're going to get started with Chief Jawad sharing key information on what is an Aboriginal government. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just supposed to be reading it and I'm breaking it down.
Yeah, yeah, go through it like you normally would.
Is this the sorrow? Excuse me, let me turn my voice and.
That's not what you want?
It's good. So, I can go now? All right, so what is an Aboriginal government?
Speak up, please.
So it says, what is an Aboriginal government? So the other day, I was looking at this, and then here we go today, we speaking on what is the Aboriginal government. That's how sometimes I can tell, because I can't speak for everybody else, I can tell that we're on the same page without even talking to each other, although we do talk to each other during the week. Derek, Derek and myself, Hakeem, and Brother Troy, we do talk to each other during the week, but he didn't know that I was going to talk about this. Because I'm trying to bring this in correlation to what's going on in Baltimore as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the Aboriginal government? The Aboriginal government is a government that operates off natural law principles, and therefore it is a government of peace that maintains peace, justice, and truth. There is no homelessness in the Aboriginal government. There is no poverty in the Aboriginal government. There is no famine in the Aboriginal government. There is no crime in the Aboriginal government. There is no abuse in the Aboriginal government. There is no non-Aboriginal people operating representative capacity in the Aboriginal government. There is a divine order in Aboriginal governments. There is a proper, peaceful relationship between men and women. And I'm going to repeat that again. There's a proper, peaceful relationship between man and woman in the Aboriginal government. A healthy family is the root axis of all Aboriginal government. The 5 pillars of honor /IIS are the root of a successful nation, a national successful family, and a successful nation. Aboriginal government must have a historical knowledge of their existence as a nation, including their language, systems of law, cultural practices, what causes their decline. Or I should say our decline too.
Mm-hmm.
National government with functional councils and departments, a constitution, a military, a landmass that they are indigenous to, a system of laws that is absolute in character. A system of laws that is absolute in character, a gross domestic product, and Aboriginal courts. At this moment, I may kind of sound like Bilal. You know why I say this? Because it's to a point now. Going all these, Ali and I are all in all these cities. So we read this, and if you're not trying to be a part of this, even for those who are nationals, and you're not trying to do this, you should turn your paperwork in, your IDs in, and just keep it moving. Because the way things are shaping up, and it's shaping into form for not us, but for the colonizers.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really don't have no time to play. That's use that word. We don't have no time to play. So if you're not trying to be about an Aboriginal government after you nationalize or before you think about nationalizing, like I said before, just get your paperwork up, your IDs back, but you're not getting refunded your $360 though, and you just go ahead because we have no time to play. We got so much to do. Like Troy, I said earlier about a gross domestic product, we don't even have one, and we are that one for the colonizer. So that's like there's a lot of work to be done, and it starts, right here. What is an Aboriginal government? Because it's not an Aboriginal government. This is what the nationals should be operating under or doing as a national. So when we're not, where it says absolute system of that is absolute in character. If we're not in our proper character, let alone us being in our natural state or our natural status or our natural persona, then I don't know what we're doing. So, I would take this back to, but I spoke online on Tuesday at the call-in conference call, and Mustafa Ansari was doing something on stuff happening in Baltimore. And the first thing his line was, all the people in Baltimore need to nationalize. But they don't know who they are. And then if we ain't got no leadership, what we was talking about earlier, leadership, then of course they don't know who they are. And that, not the leadership starts from the leadership as far as the councilwomen and councilmen, but it starts as the mother and father, which we go through every week here in class. It starts as the mother and father. So if they not telling them who they are, they lost when they come out the door. They lost when they come out the womb. And I would say we, since it's, you know, but all of us are not lost, but some of us are lost, and primarily our young people. And it kind of gets to me because I have a son that's 22, and most of those young people that was in Baltimore or that in all these other cities that marching and for peace and for freedom, they don't know what they're marching for. They just getting in because they think it's the trend, and it's not a trend. It's some serious stuff that that we're coming up on, and that like burning down the homes, burning down CVS. How you burn down your own hood? That's what they're doing. They burn down their hood. So they burn down the hoods, which is part of the King Alfred plan. And then what happens? They regentrify those neighborhoods into communities.
Mm-hmm.
So we just, if we don't get those young folks, but start with us and our proper status, those who are already nationals and our proper status, then we can't reach back and give them any leadership, you know, because we know that all the councilwomen, the councilmen, and the Congress people, they all tied into the system of the matrix, you know, so their thing is not to really help them, you know, like, was it the mayor of the city said that we gave them enough room to do what they was doing. And she said she didn't say it, but she said she actually gave them enough room to vandalize. Really? Wow. And then she, like I said before, then she said, you just said it, then she said she didn't say it, but whether she said it or not, that's what they're doing. So, and then when they start doing that, here they start bringing the trucks, you know, the armored trucks. Anytime they're going to institute martial law on what you come. So I'm not in there. Yes, sir.
So, and like with an instance like that where they say they initiated the riots or this and that and the other, could have been easily a government organization infiltrating, and they did it. They initiated it because they infiltrate and they want to project us bad. So it could have easily been, you know, one of the government organizations
that
did that.
But do understand that it could have been them doing it, but we was out there to take the blame for something that they did. So we could have organized. They could have organized in a park somewhere. They could have organized in someone's home. You know, not out in the streets looting. You know what I'm saying? And what you looting? CBS for real? For real? Nobody was down at the harbor. You know, where all the money's being made in Baltimore. They wasn't down there burning up nothing.
They were in their own neighborhood.
Yeah, you burn. You know, so I just think that is right there.
One of the things you mentioned very early about is what is our domestic product, right? When you nationalize and you completed everything, and you have, if you are employed by somebody, you have given them the right paperwork, then you are no longer being taxed by the other entity. Those tax dollars come back into your pocket, and if whatever Aboriginal businesses or anything, that money now can go back into the gross national product for Aboriginal businesses. So those who have businesses, we need to be able to have some type of directory. So those who are new who come in and they want to know who to associate with, that's one way to help grow the nation's gross domestic product. But it all starts with the person becoming fully nationalized and detaching themselves from the existing government, filling out all of their forms the correct way, getting their pension plan switched over and into their own what's it called? Trust, right? Getting their businesses in their own trust, which is a separate trust. Okay. And then once all of those things are done, and it will become a domino effect as more and more people become members of honor and dislodge themselves from the corporate United States.
I agree 100%. Here's our challenge. I may have an individual business. You may have an individual business. You may have an individual business. However, they're individual businesses, and it's not a gross domestic product for ARNA. It is your individual gross domestic product. When I say gross domestic product, I'm talking about where someone takes a product, brings it to market, because we can contract with outside entities, meaning states and governments and things of that nature, and we can bring something to market that creates jobs, right? That even if that job everybody's looking, I mean, people are looking for jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just imagine if we said we had 100 jobs right now, or 20 jobs, or 50 jobs, and we hire people and we're creating something that goes to market that brings revenue back into the nation. And I'm talking about the nation as a whole. We're gonna have to flush some of this out. But one thing, if I know one thing for certain and two things for sure, is that give me someone with a plan, meaning, not gonna say a plan, give me someone with an idea that's willing to work and that's consistent, and it's easy to make $100,000. The challenge is that people have ideas, but they don't have any constructs to lay this idea on top of to now take them to market. So back to you, and then we'll.
Go ahead.
Before we do that, because I want him to finish out, and then we're gonna go to that in a second. So hold that for one quick second, if you could, so he can finish out, and then I'm gonna go right to you.
Yeah. So that's so. I mean, and as like I said, when I was in Atlanta, and I read this and also read the preamble. Do you know what I was reading? And they was nationals. And here we go again. They haven't been through the complete process of nationalizing because of the leadership that was in Atlanta. So, so we corrected all that this past weekend. But like I said before, some people, will get turned off in our strong approach. And that's why for me, I love Bilal. Because he's straightforward, it ain't no chasing. He know how serious this thing is. When I first met him, I was like, what's wrong with that joker? I was always so serious. I just always, but I got it when I got to know him. Each and every Sunday I was coming to check him out. I got it. Then I got a chance to sit with him by myself. I said, okay, now he's driven. He's driven. That's why I put driven on. He's driven by this. He lives this. When I was talking to people in Wisconsin, they said, man, you live this. Yeah, I live this. This is me. Like I told Ali Muhammad, you couldn't get rid of me if you tried. Out of this, I'm in this to win this. Now, it's not for me. It's for my granddaughter and for our other granddaughters and my nieces and stuff. It is for them. So we have to, this part we should take serious. And I know we're gonna go through the preamble, but even the preamble, and I go this all the time. The preamble starts off with we the people.
Right.
But the moment somebody uses honor to win a case or get remedy, they don't bring the class and it becomes I. Because they keep it to themselves. And there could be some remedies that can help other people in there, but they don't want to say nothing because then they figure it's theirs. But you got it out of us.
Yep. You
got it from honor. I'm not gonna say from Ali Muhammad, because Ali got it from somewhere and he just brought it here. So, you got it from honor. So that's why I read it. Every time I read the preamble, it gives me something. Every single time I read it, it gives me something. So those two things, although the whole protocol manual is important, but I think these two things are highly important. wasn't Aboriginal government. And I go back to saying it again, if you ain't about this life, then get your paperwork back, get your IDs back, and you going back in some way to get plugged back into the matrix, because where we are going and going to get, we don't have time to look through the rearview mirror for people to try to catch up. But it goes back to what Ryan always said before. We got to make sure that people are completely nationalized. Because like I said, it's a bunch of them still not completely nationalized. So, and I'm glad you said about the director, because I wrote all that down. We have the cabinet meeting for hopefully next week. With the cabinet meeting, I can bring that up. And so that we can make sure everybody's complete, because when you're not completely nationalized, that's when it's, oh man, it's on Ali. I don't want to hear that. So that's what we're going to clean up as far as the cabinet, is make sure everybody's completely nationalized, and then they're comfortable. Because my whole thing again, for me, is when we had a summit, August 28th, 29th, and 30th, I wanted people, we had to go get some chairs from CBS to bring people, have people sit down. Not people looking for it, have people look down to look for a seat. So that's my personal goal for us when we having a summit, for us to be on point, crowded, so everybody can get this message of why they should be nationalized and why they should be part of honor, because it's not an organization, it's not some kind of society. Honor is an autonomous government that we have to build together. That's why I says we the people that we have to build together. And the only way for us to build that is to for all of us to be on the right page. So I'm gonna end it with that. When you get opportunity and you get the protocol manual, if you don't have it, we can send it to you. Oh, I just print the copies and I'll bring some next week, because I got a copy of it for me, and you're gonna charge us anything because it's 138 pages. But just get opportunity to read that. Just keep reading, because it's definitely important to our plight and honor.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Brother Rydell, before we
Going back to make a comment on what you said, as far as the gross national product. Once the nation has determined which avenue it's going to go down to get that done, there are existing examples out there in tribal governments, the United States government, the monies that were talked about in the UN as far as reparations. Once our nation has decided which way it's going to do to start that gross national product, and then follow through. Whether or not they follow the United States government form, where eventually it gets to the point where it provides other taxes other than the annual dues, or if it becomes part of many of the tribal governments and how they've orchestrated with the monies for reparations, like Mohegans and other tribes. There are already models out there. We just have to decide how we are going to function. And then once that's done, along with what I said first, it will go hand in hand and just continue to strengthen the nation as each individual is totally gotten all their paperwork in order, have detached themselves from the current government, have all of their taxes not being taxed and sucked off by the IRS, and file the right paperwork. I think that's where we should start, and then let the government decide what gross national product and how it's going to get that money.
Okay. So I'm gonna flip that around. And the reason why I'm gonna flip it around is this: when we say the government decides, who is the government?
We are.
So bottom line, like, one of the things with me is that I as an individual have a we mentality. So as we've been sitting back, I'm like, okay, we keep talking about waiting for gross domestic product. Why are we waiting? Who are we waiting on? Who's gonna make that for us? Who's gonna make those decisions? I don't need nobody to make those decisions. We are making those decisions. So we're here in Shakamaksim, which is the capital of ARNA, as it were. So we, the capital, are going to make a decision. We are making a decision. Okay, so how we're making a decision is what we're going to be going through. So back to law of magnetism. Okay, we had a chance to go through it real quick. And sis, right there is the law of magnetism. You could give the brother and sister the form.
Sure.
Oh, you have, okay, good stuff. All right, the law of magnetism, it talks about a couple different things. It said write down the top 3 qualities in people that you'd like to attract in to your organization. Okay, the thing is this: the qualities that you wrote down, do you possess those qualities? And if not, what do you need to do to begin to possess those qualities? There are a couple different books that I'm going to suggest that you read. One is called Think and Grow Rich. Just think about it. Think and Grow Rich. Not work and grow rich. Think and grow rich. The concept of that, of thinking and growing rich. So I want you guys to, the reason why I'm bringing these things up is because of this book that I read called The Slight Edge. The Slight Edge, on page 28, it says your philosophy creates your attitude. Your attitude creates your actions. Your actions create your results, and all of that creates your life. So if you want to know why you're living the type of life you're living today, it's because of your philosophies. That's the foundation. Where do our philosophies come from? That's the question.
Things we learn.
Things we learn, training. I'm looking upbringing. I'm looking close. I'm looking for a deeper upbringing, right?
I would say is also the way that we interpret our reality based on a lot of times the senses, where people will pick up, will adapt ideas or adopt ideas that people around us have, and so we'll start to take them on as ourselves. And we'll start to. So that's basically like conditioning.
Who are the people we're around? Where does conditioning come from?
The society at large.
Okay, you know I'm always gonna go back to this, and because think about this, it really does go back. Am I correct? But what are they part of? Mother and father.
A part of the DNA.
Family.
Family in what? We're in a government, tribal government, a group, a social group, right? Your mother and father learned something from where? The culture in which they're part of, the community that they're part of. Does that make sense? So all of this is kind of community. It goes back down to community. Is what I was looking to get to, is community. So we're part of ARNA, which is a community, a government of people. We come together and we're going to affect change with one another. For those of you, if you write down the name of this movie, it's called The Lady in Gold. Go see that movie. Yeah, just go see the movie. Because if you don't go see the movie, I'm telling you now, when it comes out, I'm buying it and we're going to watch the movie.
Where's that?
It's in the movies.
No, I mean,
You have to just,
okay.
yeah, it's throughout the country, but it's one of those movies that you're going to see Arna when you see this movie. Just look for Arna. I'm serious. It's like, oh wow. Like a friend of mine hit me up, was like, yo, you gotta see this movie. It reminds me of Arna. And I was like, okay. So I went and saw it, and it reminded me of Arna in the sense of the things that we can do. One of the statements that the father made in the movie, he said, do not forget us. Carry us in your heart. Never forget. What happened to our culture?
We forgot.
He was knocked in the head.
We forgot. Here's the thing, is no one can stop me from telling him that he's my son. No one can stop me from telling him the story of my father. No one can stop me from telling him the story of my father's father and his father's father and his father's father. I have a lot of friends from Africa, and I mean the continent, because I realize there are different countries in Africa. So I have friends from all over Africa. I mean, from east to north to west to central, all over Africa. And one consistent thing that I know about them is the reason why they're so proud, even when it comes to Jamaicans and Haitians and things, because they know their history. So they can stand proud and tall because I don't care what you say to them, they know who they are. Most of us, not so much. I can tell you who my father is, and I never knew him. I know who he is. I knew his name. I know nothing about him other than his name. And, well, I'm sorry. I know his name and I knew what he did. I knew about the success that he brought, but I learned that vicariously through asking questions of my sister and his ex-wife. I met my grandfather before he passed, which is his father's father, but that's where it stops. And I just happened to meet him. And when I say I know that it was destined that I meet him, but I don't know anything about him. And then I asked my grandmother about the man she married and had children by, and she was like, I don't want to talk about it. And she put me out of her house. Wow. And I'm like, wait, you laid down and had 2 children by this man. I'm asking you for purpose of history. I'm not trying to grudge up old feelings. You know, what happened between you and him was between you and him. I'm asking you for my history, and you deny me my history because of feelings and because of emotions. So what does that do? It then drives a deeper wedge for me to now want to know more and feel lost because I can't discover the more, if that makes sense. And I don't know if any of you have ever been there, but these are things we have to do, is never forget. You're about to say, brother.
Yeah, I was going to say that there's like a wanting disconnect, obviously, amongst our people where it's almost purposefully we're so ignorant. Yeah, we're so ignorant and we're so unaware and so disconnected where we don't know that we don't know, and then we have the attitude that ignorance is bliss, so we don't want to know. And that's very pervasive, and including amongst the elders in the community. They don't fulfill their role in terms of making sure that the younger generation has some type of even personal family knowledge. I mean, you just shared your story. I can say the same thing on my end. I mean, I've never met my grandfather. Thank goodness I know my father, and I've gotten a lot from him, but I can't really say that I know the lineage of my family, and that leaves me in a state of disconnect to a degree and searching. And you know, Les Brown said, when people don't see where they fit in, they act like misfits. And I agree.
Mm-hmm. And it breeds mistrust as well, because the thing is this: if I can't trust the person that I came from to share with me the truth, how can I then trust anyone to share truth? And here's a deception that we get here in this place we call America. First and foremost, the thing that's so horrible is that we're taught to lie to our children. The tooth fairy, Santa Claus, right? All this, the Easter Bunny, the elves, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the white Jesus, right? All this different stuff that we're taught, and we lie to children, and then we want them to tell us the truth. We tell them that children come from storks. We don't tell them the truth that a mother and father come. And when I say we, I'm talking about society. The society at large, not individually. Because I know some of us individually. My mother always told me there was never a Santa Claus. She's like, listen, I'm your Santa Claus. She said, no fat white man gonna come into the hood and come down the chimney and bring you anything. I go out and work for this, and so appreciate what it is that I do for you guys, because it's out of the love of my heart. So I mean, my perception of quote unquote Christmas was never that. My perception was that my mother was making sure that her children had. And it was amazing how she could take a penny and make, just make something. I'm like, women, you guys, oh my God, multiplication? Whew, you guys are the essence of multiplication, because I don't understand how y'all do what you do. Right. My mother had 7 children, and I never knew we were poor. I didn't. I had no idea we were poor. But it's amazing what you guys do. So hats off to you guys. Yes, sir.
Part of the problem that we're talking about is the disconnect that came from slavery. Mm-hmm. And also the subliminal messages that are received every day in all of the advertisement, mm-hmm. print, video, radio, it's there all of the time. Mm-hmm. And until you become strong in the essence of who you are, mm-hmm. and what you want to know, mm-hmm. it's easy to fall victim to it. It is. It's easy to fall victim to, I'm going to tell my son the tooth fairy, put your tooth underneath the pillow. Mm-hmm. But once you start to come to the understanding that honor can bring, mm-hmm. with the facts and the history, mm-hmm. then all of that can start to be turned so that that history, mm-hmm. can be reconstructed. Some of it, there's going to be gaps, mm-hmm. but you can look at the greater history.
Right.
And take pride in that.
Right. And we're working on getting there. So to bring us back full circle, the purpose of all of this is this. When we're talking about the law of magnetism, one of the things that I looked at is that it got down to it talked about the key areas of attraction. Okay, so we're going to go through that real quick just so everybody's up to snuff. First and foremost, number 1 was the mission. Mm-hmm. Okay, what was number 2? Priorities. Number 3?
Age.
Okay. Number 4?
Values.
Number 5?
Background.
And number 6?
Attitude.
Okay, and the theme of it was like begets like. So when you're looking at your mission, your priorities, your age, your values, your background, your attitude, you're going to find people that are attracted to you that are within that same range. Now, we have to begin to attract younger people. Because while we have wisdom of the elders don't always have the energy to go out and create and to do. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So we need to have young people here that are adding to. I was so proud of my nephew coming out to the Hidden Colors video because he actually was listening when he came to class, because he regurgitated some stuff and then brought to light things that he was looking at and how he viewed it. And he went back to school and they brought something up in school. They were talking about the whole riot situation, and he brought up the Declaration of Indigenous People, and so he began to talk about even at the church, and they literally asked that I come in and talk to the school children, and the church is inviting me in to come speak to them.
That's awesome.
But this is because of one young person came, huh?
They're going to kick you out once they hear you.
No,
I'm saying it depends on how you pick up people.
See, I know how to. Here's the funny part. I don't care where you put me. I can be a chameleon. So if I have to be, if I got to be praise Jesus, it'll be praise Jesus. I have no problem with that. And when I say that, I'm not. I grew up a Christian all my life. So when I came across information that shook my foundation, I had to sit back and really think about that. Can I still be considered Christian? Yeah, I can. But I don't believe some of the stuff that they taught. You know what I'm saying? How you worship is how you worship. So I can go to a Buddhist temple and sit down with people and I can be comfortable. I can go to an Akan temple. I can go to a mosque. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to a Wiccan. Voodoo, yes. Wiccan, not so much. Only because of the fact of the premises that I see Wiccans with. It's just something that I can't get with it. Voodoo has a different origin. I know the history of that, and I realize that Christianity and all that came out of that, if you really parallel it. But The thing is, basic thing is I can be comfortable wherever I go because your belief doesn't affect who I am.
Well, if we are calling ourselves conscious or knowing, we should be able, that knowing should give us the ability to adapt and speak to, like the Bible says, speaking in tongues. For me, that can translate into being able to speak to many different people on many different vibrational levels and not necessarily turn them off. You're not talking to outrage them. You're talking to those receptive minds that are there. And also you're talking about attracting young people. I think that young people, one of the reasons why our adversary has gotten the minds of so many young people is because he has their attention. Right. He has the Apple Watches, he has the cute malls, and he produces some results. And that's the thing that I would like to offer up into the collective here is that somewhere, somehow, we have to produce some results so that once we go talk to the young people, that we can say, this is what we've done and this is what we can do for you. Exactly. As opposed to just a bunch of rhetoric or, flowery sounding things where we're not actually able to address their issues.
I agree 100%. And so the thing you'll find is that children can tell when you're about it versus talking. Children, when you look, they're pure. They know when you're full of it. They know when you're not being honest or you're not sincere and you don't have a heart toward them. So yeah, how it's presented, I have no problem with it. Honestly, I know how to get into it. Yes, sir.
I just coming from hearing how you got it, you can go wherever and give your message. And I keep getting the sense that whatever everybody's got against whatever y'all went through with y'all Christianity, that's your issue. Right. Now I got my issues with several other faiths, but you know what? Right. I don't care because that don't affect me.
Exactly.
So when I got something to say, I'm not addressing everybody, wherever you're coming from, because that's part of the issue that I find a lot in our community. Right. That whatever you went through, whatever, we bring it with you. Listen, that's a turn off like crazy, and I hate that. Right. Yeah. So, and that's some time ago when I was heard the message about the Moorish Americans, and I kept getting that. I'm like, listen, man, you blinding and turning me off because whatever your issue is, you keep bringing it here. I want what I'm supposed to get. Right. Stop blinding me. Right. And distracting me. Right. With this other stuff. Right. You got what you got, and that's how you live it. Right. Same here. I got what I got, and I'm fine by it. Right. I don't go by the so-called code what everybody seems to think. As I said to you before, I can clearly look at whatever the man-made globe we got up. They got made up, whatever. I got enough common sense to look there and know good and well from that so-called Middle East and down. That's all us.
You know, one of the biggest challenges, and I believe what creates that is because of the white Jesus piece. I think that's hold on, one quick second. The reason why I say that is because if you look at every culture throughout the world, they see their God in their image. Right. And because they changed that image and then perpetuated that throughout the world, if you see God in a specific image, when you encounter that type of being, you're looking at them as God subconsciously. So really what I think the premise of that is to break that subconscious control, because if we keep teaching our children that, our children are consistently going to begin to believe that. So my thing is that, if you're a Christian, great. Just make sure that you're teaching them that your Jesus is black. Because it literally, if you look in the Bible, what does it say? His description is of a black man. It's not a white man. So my thing is that the Muslim religion, I have issues with certain things with that. The Christian religion, I have certain issues. Buddhism, so it doesn't matter where it is, but here's the common thing. We're all looking to see God, and that's all I care about.
Yeah, I think God. Yeah, just to piggyback off what the brother said.
Before you go, because you're about to say something.
Yeah, like I said, my son knows better than that. My daughter knows better. Now, respectfully, Michelangelo, whenever they gave him authority to do the 16 chapel and make it with, that's his paint or their paint.
Right.
That's his brush and their brush, and he can however he want to.
But why they have
But-
a black church?
No. See, I have yet, in this day and age,
Mhm.
I have yet to visit anybody's church and seen blonde hair, blue eyed Jesus. It ain't happening. It better not happen in this day and age. You can go to the internet and just pull up the globe, however who else is presenting it, and then go back and track your stuff timeline. Dude, you gotta be a blatant fool. And I don't want to call everybody a fool, but all you gotta do, I mean, it just don't work. You can't go over to the Middle East now and find blonde haired, blue eyed people. It's not this culturally. It's not gonna work.
I agree with you. However, trust
It
me,
is happening.
Trust me.
Yeah, but listen. In my circle of people, and we don't fall for it. It's
Well,
just
we
not
can't.
gonna
But
work.
see, here's the challenge in your circle. When we're talking about we can't look at just your circle. We have to look at the whole.
The overall.
So we have to change the overall perception. Great in your circle, and I appreciate that because it does start with your circle. But now let's take it beyond your circle.
Yeah, but
And so
again,
sometimes that conversation, it's a hard conversation to have.
nah, not with listen. If I'm talking with somebody and we listen, man, this is how it is for real.
Mhm.
Now you go do your homework, but you're not gonna have a conversation with me and push all blonde hair, blue eyes. It's not gonna work.
I put it like this: have that conversation with my brother. Now he does. I don't know what he believes, whether it's blonde hair, blue eyes. What he believes is it doesn't matter. And the thing is, I'm like, it does matter. If it did not matter, they would not have taken the time out to change that perception throughout the world. If it
Exactly.
didn't matter,
Exactly.
it matters. Perception matters, and what goes in the psychology of the children will matter as well. Brother, and then we're going to move into.
I was just saying that. Whenever we discuss and talk to people from various backgrounds, I believe we have to try to develop and I'm still in the process of trying to do it myself, a sort of emotional maturity where we're not necessarily attacking them. We're just presenting the facts. I believe we personalize a lot of this information, and the truth does not need a defense. The truth will speak for itself. If we just focus on being factual and being pleasant and not belligerent and hostile when we go to talk to other people, I believe that will go a long way.
I appreciate what both of you brothers have said. You both have very pointed and strong points. Only thing I'd like to add to it, and I think I've already said it, but I'm going to try and say it in a more pointed way. In this society in America in which we live in, there is so much propaganda.
Speak up only because it's recorded.
In this United States of America, there is so much propaganda. And if you don't realize it, and you don't teach those who you can, be it children, grandchildren, adult children, nieces and nephews, they will go along with what's being presented in the media every day. So it behooves us to present the facts and then let them do their own research and come to their judgment. And once they have the facts and they're able to see the truth, then all of the holes that's in the propaganda will start to disintegrate, and the whole propaganda issue will come down.
If they see us on a bookstore, or on a community co-op store, or on a clothing store or something, if they see the people that's representing honor actually bearing fruits and actually doing something and actually able to provide remedy and provide a somewhat of an example, that to me speaks so much volume, more than just opening our mouth and saying, brother, did you know this? Or go look up that. It's like, okay, so how's that gonna help me get the bill person off my back? How's that gonna help me deal with my debt? How's that gonna help me deal with this traffic ticket that I got? You have all this information, brother, but can you even give me information to get this off my back? And I know some of our people are takers. Some of our people will go, and you will have them. As soon as they get what they want, or whatever the case may be, whatever remedy, they're out. That's okay. We have to We have to factor that in. That's just the way our people are right now, because a lot of them don't see that that's a result of being disconnected and not knowing the power of unity. But somewhere down the line, I see, and I'm sure that whoever's listening amongst us see, that we must produce some type of results so that we can be as obvious as the sun shining outside.
Thank you. You actually just stimulated a thought in my head with something, but we're gonna come back to it in a second. All right, so within the law of magnetism, the reason why I came back to this is because it asks for one simple thing. And it says, does our mission statement reflect who we are, or who we are, or what we want to be? Does our mission statement reflect who we are,
Yes.
or who we want to be? So we're going to go over two different mission statements. First and foremost, what is an Aboriginal government? Okay, as we talked about, an Aboriginal government operates off of natural law principles. All right, everybody, does everyone kind of know what natural law principles are?
Yes.
Okay. You don't realize that. Therefore, the government of peace that maintains peace, justice, and truth. There's no homelessness in Aboriginal government, no poverty in Aboriginal government. So if there's no homelessness and no poverty, that means you have an economic base, right?
I agree.
So right now, while this is a statement, now we need to put feet to the prophecy. We have to fulfill the prophecy. There has to be first the thought before the action can occur. Can we agree on that? Okay. How many of you have your own business? Okay. What is the mission statement of your business?
Well, mine is, ours is to provide the very best and knowledgeable health, holistic healing for people that are in health crisis, and teach a different lifestyle to people who may have otherwise lacked the knowledge of how to help themselves. So basically help people help themselves, but in a holistic way.
Is it written?
It is written.
Okay.
I'm paraphrasing.
Okay.
Yes, it's written. Right insurance agency's goal is to become our client's first and best choice for issues relating to their social well-being, their financial well-being in our community.
Okay.
Not only generate revenue to take care of my family and myself.
Okay. So we need to work on the mission statement. And the reason why, and not to single you out, but here's the deal. We want everybody to be solid. The reason why the United States government has been able to do what they did is because they took a solid foundation from us and drew up the Constitution, and it came from us. A lot of us don't realize this stuff came from us. They didn't know how to do this. We taught them how to do it. And then through years of degeneration, deculturalization, denationalization, genocide, dehumanization, we forgot where the source came from. So now we can recapture that, but we have to take the time out to study and to recapture. Yes, sir.
When you say we taught them that,
Literally.
so we taught it's exactly who.
We taught European people how to contract. We taught European people about government and how to create government and how to set up government. And I think maybe next week I have to study the material before I actually go into it.
Yeah, they were living in a feudal system where
Right.
they didn't have government equality, they didn't have representation. It was more so like a very dysfunctional dictatorship.
Right.
They didn't have infrastructure,
Right.
They even threw their waste out the window. I mean,
And it
they had
was-
anything.
And it was the Moors that invaded Europe that began to teach them. And the Europeans were paying tribute to the Moors for centuries. And they would
still
send
do.
Leonard people to the north into Europe to help with all kinds of things.
Well, we didn't invade Europe.
We were there.
Yeah, we was already there, but we
We
just
were all
basically
over.
came and took our stuff back after they was ruined.
So here's the circumstance though. You can look at Egypt, ancient Kemet, and know that we were able to create things from there because ancient Kemet, yeah, hot. I was like, he is really gonna be burning himself up. Ancient Kemet lasted for tens of hundreds of thousands of years. So because of how long that infrastructure lasted, and some of that was passed on and passed on and passed on. So I mean, you have all these different empires that were able to create some major government that maintained for way longer than what America
Forever,
has
even
lasted.
they're still
even
there,
till
even
this
to this
day.
day.
So you have to. That's why I say they got it from us. I'm not just going on the basis of Lola. Yeah, we just.
I mean, you look at America, it's
But-
only 250 years old. You
Right.
look at Judaism, that's only what, 2,000 years old?
Mhm.
And that's what I was, that's what I meant by, like, as for America, was it taught when they got over here, or did they come over here with that information?
No.
So that you know, we were already here.
Right, but that's,
And so
right.
when they came here, we welcomed them in and we began to teach them.
Right.
And because they had the mentality of, we want what you have. And after I actually have a poster that says, be careful who you invite into your home. Because when you invite certain people in, you don't know what they're coming for, their intentions. Look at South Africa. I think it was the Dutch that came down into South Africa.
Oh my God.
And they were like, South Africans were like, well, we have all this beautiful land. It's enough for all of us. Here's a part. And they set up, went back and got more of their people and came back with guns and stuff and literally took over. Now you have South Africans in a state of quandary right now where it amazes me how they're killing other African or ancient Kemet people that are from the continent, but you won't kill off
No.
the very white people that subjugated you and colonized you. I don't get that. Now, granted, I'm not advocating killing of anyone, so you went very quickly. I want somebody to say, oh, you're being racist. No, I'm not being racist. I'm simply saying this. It amazes me how white people will be quick to say, go back to Africa, but I'm like, how about you go back to Europe? You go home. How about we all go home?
And then we'll
We
see
are.
who-
And we'll see
Exactly.
where the resources are. We'll all go home.
Right.
So when you say home, see, I know that my grandmother was a native to this landmass. You can't take that from me. Get what I'm saying? So when it comes down to it, when you say go home, okay, well, this was my grandmother's home. So since that's the case, then you go home.
Peace.
Because what was yours? What was your native land? So back to where we were though. So mission statement for business is great, but now what's your personal mission statement? See, because when it comes down to this whole piece about Aboriginal government, the question, it goes back to what what's name said when he said, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. So now what is your personal mission statement? And I want you guys to really take time out within the next week. Look up the word mission statement. Get a firm definition for what it is. And then I want you to define a personal mission statement. And then if you have a business or desire to have a business, begin to work on a mission statement relative to your business. If it's only to feed your family, the reason why I'm sharing this is because it's only to feed your family, then once you feed your family, how far will your business grow? You get what I'm saying? You want your mission statement to far exceed just the feeding of. You want it to go from generation to generation to generation. You want your children's children's children to be like a Donald Trump or Steve Jobs, not Steve, what is that guy's name? Forbes, Steve Forbes, Mark Forbes, Peter Forbes.
You talking about Zuckerberg?
Forbes.
Zuckerberg
Jobs.
and Jobs.
No, Forbes. Steve Forbes. Yeah. Okay, Steve Forbes. Okay. Yeah, I'm sitting in Forbes. Yeah. Or Rothschilds or Vanderbilts or whomever. You know what I'm saying? But we can do that. It's interesting because I'm proud of what I know of my father in one regard and then discouraged in another regard. He drank himself to death. He ended up dying of an aneurysm, brain aneurysm, because he drank. Prior to that, number one, he owned the first African-American owned and operated music / bookstore or convenience store in North Philadelphia, 29th and Diamond. And he was the Santa Claus of the area. He would go out and buy stuff for the youth in the area. But he was a hoe. Literally me and my sister are born in the exact same year, and he drank everything into the ground. So where he owned multiple homes, owned multiple cars, had multiple women, his issue was the liquor. So for me, I don't drink. I'm not interested in drinking. Don't offer me nothing to drink. The heaviest thing I'll drink is pineapple juice.
See, where you say that his issue was the liquor, based off of our business and what we are interested in, we would question that and say his issue wasn't the liquor, but some emotional trauma or some way of coping that he was not able to deal with. And that's what we, just to touch on that, that's what we try to focus on is the root causes of our dysfunctional behavior, so we don't vilify people for just being the way that they are.
I agree with you 100%. I wasn't. Sometimes
I
try to. I work on staying surface because when you're. Yeah.
I just wanted to see.
But yes, I agree 100%.
Yes,
me personally, there's just certain vices that I just prefer not to do. I've seen some vices. I see vices drive people crazy. I remember one time my aunt had asked us to go to the store and get her a pack of cigarettes. While we were out, we did some shopping. We went to 4 different stores. They did not have her brand. We got back. When I tell you she hurled the groceries across the room, you purposely didn't bring me my cigarette. Really? Now I'm about maybe between the age of 11 to 14, and I'm seeing that a cigarette makes you act like that.
My mom used to get me up every other morning at 2 a.m. Back when the A+ right around the corner here, right on Queen Lane, used to stay open 24/7. I had to get up and go get her cigarettes.
Right. So
she's no longer here. She died of cancer. That's it.
And see, so my thing is that when I look at cigarettes, and my aunt died from cancer as well. So my thing is that when I realize certain things are going to create certain outcomes, then I choose a different outcome. I choose a different way because I don't want that outcome. So when it comes down to it, your mission statement is what will drive you. If your mission statement doesn't make you cry, and when I say cry, I don't mean that it itself, but I mean that if you didn't accomplish what your mission statement is driving you toward, and it doesn't give you the outcome desired, and it doesn't bring tear to your eye to think that you did not manifest that, then you need to seek deeper in your mission statement. And it can be a sub-mission statement as well. I mean, like you have a mission statement and a subtopic as well to kind of like bring that extra added whatever.
Yeah, you need that emotional investment to manifest anything.
Yes. Okay. So what we're asking everyone is to do that. All right. And then are there changes I need to make to attract qualities that I do not possess?
Absolutely.
Those are things we need to look at when we're looking at this, okay? Now, we're going to go back over to here real quick. There's no famine in Aboriginal government. There's no crime in Aboriginal government. There's no abuse in Aboriginal government. Now, think about this. Crime, abuse, all those things. Where does that come from? Lack of, normally,
money,
economics. Because, and money... People that say money isn't everything, they say money don't make you happy. I put it like this: I can rent happiness for a little while if I got some money. I would rather be rich and depressed than broke and depressed. because broke and depressed, I would go kill me. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know. I put it like this: people that make these statements, they're not going through some of the same stuff you're going through.
Or they're not used to having anything. You know, our ancestors, like, it's in our genes to have, because of our ancestral memory, because of our, you know, having so many resources, we are used to abundance within our very core of our being. So we will become so-called criminals in the criminal system, which is really an oxymoron.
Right. But what creates a criminal system? If lack is there, then, like, I have a friend that literally was going through emotional stuff, was married, got divorced, couldn't stay awake at the job because he was barely getting sleep at night, and fell asleep and lost a job, and he had 3 children to support with a wife. So what did he do? He went to what he knew, the street. So he was slinging. But guess what? He was able to pay the bill then. But then what happens? Now you get caught up in the system. Now you can't get a job. See, so my thing is this: how do we change this? Number one, is nothing wrong with having a job. Everyone needs to start somewhere. However, once you have a job, if you are that support person and that's who you are, I have no problem with that, because you're going to always have somebody that needs to shine shoes. You're going to always have someone that needs to pour coffee. You'll always have someone that flips the pancake, or, you know, makes the shoe, or makes the eyeglass, and make this and make that. We all are important in our role, but know your role, know who you are, and don't try to be a square going into a round hole, if that makes sense. So one of the things is that when it comes down to this whole Aboriginal piece, what do you bring to the table? Your mission statement is going to help you. Personal mission statement is going to better help you understand what you're bringing to the table, so that now in the proper peaceful relationship, because now you know how you relate to who you are within the government. Does that make sense to everyone? So in your proper relationship now, it's going to be not only between man and woman, but also with your government. You know, now a healthy family, the reason why it's a healthy family, because you know who you are. Most of us come to the table without an understanding of who we are. What do I bring to the table? Why am I important? I can't be jealous of you being a foot if I'm a hand, because I can't function as a foot. Does that make sense? So we want to make sure that we begin to do some things. So when it comes down to a gross domestic product, what do you presently have within your wheelhouse that can create jobs? Literally, what do you have that can create a job? Because, see, that's the start of a gross domestic product. Now, the brother just said something earlier that threw me back into some history. I actually used to, I've been in a lot of different business positions relative to finance. I've always been a financial dude, healthcare and finance. So I worked for Blue Cross Blue Shield. I worked for Greater Atlantic. I worked for Philadelphia Health Associates. I worked for Price Waterhouse. I worked for Elman Institute. I worked for Comcast. And the list goes on and on and on. Because if you offered me more money, I was leaving. That's bottom line, I'm serious. So, with the exception of a young lady by the name of Alicia Bickerstaff, and Joel Bickerstaff had a book called, a store called Themes and Books. It's an Afrocentric bookstore, and it used to be on 13th Street, right across from Robbins. And what we were doing was we were working toward growing. Now, I used to go down there to buy my books because it was owned by us. You will find that me as an individual, if I know that it's owned by us, I am going to patronize you. So I would go down there, and, you know, and eventually we became friends, and they, you know, they would see they need help with different things, and I would help them with the computer because I was good with the computer, help them get their things up and running and different things. They said, hey, what we offered you a job, would you be interested? I'm like, if it can compete with what I'm making, sure. They couldn't compete with what I was making. I took a $10,000 pay cut to go work with them. Now, but here was the agreement. If I can take your store from making this much to making this much, then I get a raise. So within a year's time, they end up on Good Morning America for earning a net profit over $100,000. So one thing I know that I know how to do is take you from where you are to a minimum of 100,000. I know that I can do it. I've done it before. I've done it for other people. I've done it for myself. So now that we're looking at this, I'm like, you mentioned bookstore. What would not be nicer than to have an Arna bookstore?
That would be awesome.
Think about that.
Awesome.
And the reason why I say Arna bookstore, because now, where can we have meetings?
At the bookstore.
Where can we purchase our books?
From the bookstore.
Where can we purchase our tapes?
Exactly.
We can have food. We can have all this different
Right.
stuff, community events, all this different stuff at a Arna. Just suggestion. We're gonna put it before the cabinet. We're gonna talk about that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But that's one idea, and I appreciate that. And it's funny because I've run a bookstore before. I mean, I was the retail manager of the bookstore.
I have too.
And I was actually, I brought in J. California Cooper, I brought in Susan Taylor, I brought in Ayala Van Zandt, I brought in a gentleman that wrote this book called Iron House. L, if you are seeing this video, please contact me. L. Taylor, she was an amazing publicist, love her dearly. We worked very well together. But you know, when you mention books, I'm like, wow. So just imagine having another portion of our gross domestic product, the CMOS. Another portion of our gross domestic product, the popcorn.
Right. That could be a launch pad for people that are part of that group that need a platform or a place, a central place to launch their particular product and bring people there. That could be a launch pad. But I would like to add something, or even just an inquiry that, you know, okay, I use myself as an example. Coming from under the corporation, the corporate jurisdiction, you know, obviously designed to entrap you financially and, you know, disempower you financially. I'm trying to come from out of that. I'm coming from out of that. And this whole thing with I'm meeting people that are interested in Arna, but they have very good ideas. I know people that have product, but their credit is so shot up. And even people that are nationals, I hate to say it, I don't see, like, I'm not shooting them down, so let me just put that out there, but I don't see very few, I meant maybe one or two nationals that are in a better position than I am in before I became a national. So it makes me question, how are you applying what it is that you're knowing? What motivates me to want to get in your position where I see where you're standing? You understand what I'm saying? So I'm going to ask, I want to put that out there. What are levels that are means to fast track nationals to get the so-called credit in order so that they can then purchase a property? Because I'm not with a whole bunch of talking. Right. I only really talk unless I have something worthwhile saying. And to me, this is my passion. You're talking about something that gets you up in the morning, or that gets you, you know, emotional and crying. My mate can bear witness to this. You know, this is a passion for me and my family. And so I want to move past the point of just rapping about it and actually do it.
And this is why today we're talking about this whole piece concerning gross domestic product.
Yeah.
Because in order to come out of debt, there are two different avenues. One, pay off your bills. Second one, go through the credit repair piece, right? But it doesn't matter which way you choose, because everyone's going to choose differently, and choice is voluntary act of that which is preferred. There are nationals that are doing well. You just have to meet someone.
Please, I would love to.
We're going to have to. But part of it is this. I always tell people, become the change that you desire. If you don't see it, then become it.
That's why I'm here.
And so the thing is that if it doesn't exist, let's say for instance, it doesn't exist, become it. And so that's a challenge to you. Exactly. I want you to become that, because now you as an individual can stand up and say, brother, I did it. Now I can show you the pathway in which I took. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So when it comes down to the gross domestic product, I want you guys to think about some things. I'm asking for some feedback. You want to write some stuff down. What do you see as a gross domestic product? Give me some stuff. And I'm going to start out this.
More food.
We're going to start off with CMOS. We're going to start off with Hakima Burgers.
You are crazy.
Erase that.
Really, I'm serious too. We're gonna start off with popcorn and
How about a system like we're developing a system to address emotional health, let's say.
okay.
A system to address emotional well-being.
How can you translate that into a business? Or how have you translated that into
Well,
a
we're
business?
putting together a program, so it'll be broken down into phases.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. It'll be a program.
What's the name of it?
Well, we have a couple. One is called Image Wisdom.
Okay.
So you deal with issues that are, most people relate to image as they look at the exterior, but image is much deeper than that. It's from the interior. So we deal with what's going on the inside before we bring it on the outside.
Okay.
And so that's really the core of the program.
Okay. And any other one?
Also, in terms of the combat, for me, I'm really big on health. So to combat people's lack of motivation to do things, to be physical, I like to put out there Philly Fit.
Okay.
Basically, where we co-opt people to come out and meet us according to your own, your own capability levels, and we promote physical activity.
Okay.
In a group setting, along with exchanging ideas and food things and so forth and so on.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other ideas?
Farm project.
Farm project.
Absolutely.
I was hoping someone said it.
Organic farming.
Okay. Well, organic automatically with that.
Hair care, natural hair care,
Hair
health
care.
and beauty.
Somebody said nails.
Real estate.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
Books. Like I write.
Oh, in regards to writing.
Right.
Okay, so publishing.
Yes.
Aboriginal spa.
Aboriginal alternative healing facility.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
it's in the spot.
he just said
Well, the spa.
spa, same, but he also mentioned something as well. So that goes together. Anything else? School. It's so funny because I just started, and it's funny because something I'm sitting here and I'm waiting to hear from someone else. There's something called causative formation, or they call it third monkey theory, where you think something and someone in the group picks it up.
Yes.
And it's funny because there's a couple different things on here that was caught, which is great, because that means we're all flowing within the same energy field. We were sitting down talking, and we were thinking of this. Okay, if I say Chinese, what do you think of? In regards to gross domestic product, if I say
Rice.
Chinese,
Rice.
Stores.
Chinese stores. What else?
Hair.
Hair,
Teas,
Hmm?
green teas.
green teas. If I say Indian, not Indian like, but Indian, what do you think of?
Fabric.
Fabric, come on.
Gasoline station.
Gasoline stations. What else? If I say Jewish people, what do you think of?
Kosher.
Kosher, so meats,
Banks.
Jewels.
jewels,
Banks,
banks. Okay,
financial services.
financial services,
Attorneys.
attorneys. All right, so when I say black people, what do we think of?
Drama. Excuse me, I'm just kidding.
No,
That's true.
let's be real, come on.
Slavery.
20 against one.
Slavery, drama,
Innovators.
okay, then you came up with something different, innovators. What else?
Confused.
Confused. What do they bring to the table?
Money, research.
Energy.
I mean,
What, no, do they bring money? I heard a joke, and they said it was a Jewish guy, a Chinese guy, and an Indian guy with a black guy. Jewish guy said, listen, we're gonna finance these projects and we're gonna make some things happen. Chinese guy says, we are going to take and we're going to create the product to create that innovation. Indian guy says, we're gonna fuel the buses, the trains to deliver the product. Black guy said, I'm so happy to be here. Now, while the joke isn't funny, it is funny, kind of, because it's like, what do we bring to the table? And we were having a conversation, and one of Rochelle was like, entertainment. And I was like, but what else do we bring?
I feel,
You get what I'm saying?
yeah, okay, so if we analyze that from a somewhat conscious perspective,
Mhm.
I would say that because I don't want to buy into that, we don't bring anything.
Right,
So
I agree.
I'm gonna point it out the way I see it, and others can do it. I see that we bring a huge financial consumer base, so we're generating money. I see that we bring energy, and we do bring innovations. It's just that we don't capitalize and circulate those innovations amongst our own people. I mean, you look at music, you look at any sports, open heart surgery, brain surgery. I'm talking about modern stuff. There's a 14-year-old who just won a 14-year-old African American child who just won a prize for creating a stent for open heart surgery. So we're very innovative and very creative. However, what on the flip side, what we haven't been able to do is translate that into a group economic construct. That's what we haven't been able to do.
Okay.
And so therefore, it's like a balloon that has little pricks in it, and it just loses its air, and all our potential goes out and feeds everyone else.
Okay, so let's dispel the lie, because I agree with you. It bothered me that as I went around asking this week, what do we bring to the table? And 99.9% of the responses were the negative. I'm coming to you in 1 second. The thing is that I want to say, let's dispel the lie, is this. Before we came into this conditioning, what did we have? We had ancient Kemet. We had ancient Alkebulan. We had Songhai Empire. We had Mali Empire. We had Timbuktu. We had
Black Wall Street.
We had Black Wall Street. We had Rosewood. We had Durham, North Carolina. Here in Philadelphia, we had a African American owned and operated hospital. We had our own insurance companies. We have a bunch of black banks. There's still.
I'm saying we were one of the first here on Susquehanna, Columbia Avenue,
Okay.
to have the first black-owned bank in the city of Philadelphia.
So, we had our own banks. We had our own gas companies. We had our own gas stations. We had our own bus stations. We had our own taxi companies.
Yeah.
We had all of this. What happened? See, so we have to be clear on what happened. in my humble opinion, the thing that happened was sugarcane, cocaine, and heroin.
Well, before that, in my opinion, I agree. I think it happened with segregation. Once we became, once segregation, our primary focus became sitting on toilets with Europeans and sitting at, stools with them. We lost the collective inclusion that we were saying, and we were proud of saying we don't need your particular institutions. We're going to build our own. That went out the window. Our primary focus then became on that, and so we can't. Since you can't focus on two things simultaneously, we start focusing on this and pumping businesses into European establishments, and then slowly but surely through attrition, we lost those institutions, and our children wasn't seeing black dentists and lawyers and shoemakers, and, carpenters and policemen and firemen and teachers. We slowly but surely we don't see those things.
Now, humbly submitted to you, I agree that was part of it, but the reason why I say sugarcane, cocaine, and heroin is this, because even after desegregation, there were a lot of black-owned businesses that were still thriving. I remember when I was young, all up and down in New Jersey along Route 30, those businesses were black-owned. It was after the introduction of drugs in the society that I saw the deterioration of the infrastructure. I do agree that desegregation set up the model. I do. Because my thing is that before I was forced to do business with you, I didn't have a choice. But even once that choice was taken away, once that choice was opened up to do with other businesses, we still owned a great deal of things. It was those drugs that I saw that really, really impact us to a greater degree, because now I can't even think straight. So I'm not even thinking about the dehumanization that occurred before. If that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
So, sister, did I come back to you? I'm sorry.
No, I think you kind of mentioned, I was just going to go on a real practical level. You were saying, what do we bring to the table? And as a mother, just in current times, I have 2 adult sons. And I think about one of my sons is, has been, I'll say, privy to dealing with the street, is very knowledgeable of street knowledge. Love that about him. And my other son is more on the intellectual side, which they both are very smart, very bright. But in their own way, they bring their own intelligence to the table. I say that to say that because I have raised the boys, I've had multiple opportunities to talk to young men in my home. And they come in, I have my youngest son's friends who are a little bit different, they're into school, and then I have my oldest son, friends who were about the street. They would be told to be thugs, although they are not.
No.
But I say that to say, when I sat and I talked to these young men, it took, and a lot of them today still call me mom. They still appreciate, because I sat and I talked to these young men. I identified with what the things that they did bring to the table. They didn't even know what they brought to the table. So when you say, as they grow up to become men and they get in these businesses, or they go to different jobs, and they're sitting at these tables, they don't know what they bring to the table unless someone helps them identify what those things are.
Untapped potential.
And that was one of the things that I began to do that's one of my purposes in life. That's just a part of my essence of what I do. I love being in the grunt of things with the children and helping them see their potential and bring that untapped potential out. And so that's what we really need to be doing, because a lot of people don't know how to see. We can speak words all day long, but and also coming from a generation, I come from a generation, I don't know how to count it, 2 or 3 generations, but I got to be with my grandmother, I got to be with my great grandmother, I got to experience them and experience it. And so we would go to the farm. My great grandmother would take me in the crops with the corn. We'd be shucking and hooking and doing all of that, pulling the peas, milking the cows, the eggs, the chicken. I got to be with my grandmother, and she would take me to different places with her. She never spoke words, but I saw the history through their actions. So in a lot, because our families have been broken, we say a lot of things about, speaking a lot of things to the children, but as my husband was saying, they need to see it.
Mhm.
They see it in the standard society. These
Mhm.
businesses have been here forever. You know, the Europeans have built this establishment. That's what they see.
Mhm.
So now that we're doing ARNA, they need to see the physical results of what ARNA is about. We could say it all day long, but they need to see it because it's the experience, it's the journey that really impacts the heart. And you speak about the vices that we go to. It's nothing wrong with taking a drink. It's nothing wrong. I won't say wrong. It's unhealthy.
Well,
So that makes it wrong. But let me just
no
finish my
judgment.
point. Right. Let me
It
just
is what it
finish.
is, but
The
you
point
choose.
that I'm trying to make is that it's the intention behind the vice that makes the vice a bad or detrimental thing. Because many people can drink socially and be okay with it. But where are you emotionally? Where really are you grounded? How are you standing? So it's these things that we have to deal with, and why our people have grown more and more in the state that they've grown in. So as we begin to experience, and I know I'm rambling on, but I believe it's the experience that we have to bring back to society with ARNA and the journey of allowing people to see it in order for it to really become a manifestation for them.
And like you said, the quote unquote vice, what was the purpose for the vice? See, when you take it back to our culture, the purpose for tobacco was to take you into a higher etheric state to tap into ancestry. The purpose of marijuana was to heal the body and to take you into higher spiritual states. The purpose of alcohol was to take you into higher spiritual states.
Yeah, wine and spirits.
Right. So that's why I said I don't have a judgment on that. I agree with the 100% because when it comes down to it, we've taken things out of cultural context and begin to apply it in ways where it wasn't necessarily supposed to be utilized. I'm not supposed to drink to get rid of my problem. If I'm drinking to get into a higher spiritual state to gain a better understanding of why I had the problem, to now help me bring about remedy, totally different purpose, if that makes sense. Yeah. Sister Akima, you raised your hand a little while back and you raised your hand as well.
One last point
Yes.
I was going to point out, with the fact of spending the time with my son and his friends, today, my oldest son helped a young woman, who is his mate, establish a nonprofit organization. He did all the writing for that organization, but he came to a point of understanding where his strengths were by having someone spend time with him to identify that. But otherwise, he would have never been able to do that.
So, did you have something? You had raised your hand a little while back, and brother right now.
I was just connecting with the reality of us not knowing how to properly contract in order to keep our ideas and thoughts from being stolen.
Okay.
You know, because a lot of the things that have already been established, it came from the sweat of our ancestors, but because of our inability to know how to protect our assets, they were stolen. You know, such as, like, I mean, you could take the first heart transplant, open heart surgery, those type things. You know, people from our culture were the innovators in those practices. But because of how society refused to acknowledge the power of the melanin, you know, it was put on under the surface, not on the surface.
Okay. And the other thing is, remember when you said we have to show in ARNA how we're bringing that value? Here's the funny part, is they didn't build anything. We built this. So now that we're part of ARNA, we can still claim what we built. It's just now being built here. But I do agree that we need to do something very specific for here. Yes, sir.
One of the things that should be put there, and it cross-reference with 2 or 3 other things that you already have there, is apprenticeships.
That's actually what I meant when I put development, but thank you. I'm glad you.
Okay.
If
One of
I'm
the few
spelling
times-
stuff wrong, get over it.
You know, one of the few times I was watching the news, yesterday, 3 young men from Baltimore were on and talking about their plight
Mm-hmm,
and not being able to find jobs.
mm-hmm.
So if we, with our businesses, develop apprenticeships and use the philosophy that Robert Kiyosaki used in Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Mm-hmm.
you go into an internship not for the dollars.
Mhm.
You go into it for the knowledge and experience, because then you can turn that around into major dollars.
Well, my question would be, how would we inspire someone who is in a dire financial situation to come and understand that when they have the financial walls closing in around them?
Well, part of the internship, it doesn't have to be totally free, but it could meet minimally their needs,
Understood.
okay? So that while they're going through this,
Mhm.
that they can still function without drowning.
Yeah.
Okay, so some internships would pay a little bit more than others depending on the person's situation
And or the internship.
and or the internship. Now,
And
Robert Kiyosaki developed the company, sold the company, went to another businessman and said, I want to come work for you for free for a year because I want to learn this business. And then after that year, he turned what he learned into another multi-million-dollar business, and he sold that one. So internships can work and work well to your benefit if you are willing.
That's interesting.
And if you are willing to cultivate a mindset as an entrepreneur, in other words, not concerning yourself with working towards someone, but having belief that you can create a product that will be a consumable item, that will create revenue. So you have to have a belief in yourself as well as what it is you're trying to do. Because if you're trying to accomplish something, and when I say try, I'm saying if the mind is not in connection with the desire, then you have two destinies. You know, so it's not going to go, it's not going to meet, it's not going to go in the proper direction. But Honor's way is to create or to help each of you or us create our own thing, our own identity, our own purpose, our own resource, you know, our independence, where we can come together and we can create even more, because now you have an abundance of revenue and you have backers. Everybody's on the same page.
To continue with what she said, and with the apprenticeship, is learning how to not only do whatever you're working out, but learn to contract. And the business that is sponsoring the apprenticeship could also sponsor franchising. And now that young man or that woman who has been gotten tutelage for a year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it takes, they can now take that, get the financing, and set up another business, and it's franchised. And now they can turn around and hire 1 or 2 apprentices, and then in a few years they can be out and do the same thing. And now we have the system of duplication.
So we need basically like a school. We need an infrastructure, basically like a assembly line, if you will, that will produce a different mindset from our kids. Because you know, Malcolm X said, you know, only a fool would let his enemy teach their children.
Yes.
We need schools.
Right,
We
and
need schools.
this is one reason why schools and daycare. The reason why I say school and daycare, because people forget that daycare is school.
Yes.
One other book that I wanted to really quickly go share with you guys, The Science of Success. These things have been studied for years, and there are sciences that govern, and this is why, just like with the laws of leadership, the laws that govern leadership, there are sciences and laws that govern success, and they intertwine, but this is an extremely, extremely good book. So I'm gonna actually give a little bit of an excerpt from, I'll do it next time, because just for time's sake. But this book is an amazing read. Make sure you pick this up as well. And
Let me see that for a second. 'Cause I believe
His name.
Yeah, I have it.
the other thing is this right here was just, I just wanted to go over this quickly. What our assignment is to first and foremost your mission statement, your personal mission statement, if you don't have one, to connect it to ARNA, to see where we fit in. Because, you know, what ministry do you, because remember we talked about, a while back we talked about 12 different ministries in ARNA. So now it literally puts you within the constructs of the ministry, because now we know where your focus is. In future classes, some of the things that we're going to be doing is talking about business development, which, you know, first and foremost, mission statement is what is your foundation. From your mission statements, you get goals and objectives. From your goals and objectives, you're defining what your product or what your product is, whether it be a physical, tangible product or whether it be an intangible product. Tangible is books. Intangible is service oriented. So it depends on what area you're going into. And now defining a budget, an economic base that you flow from, and being able to now determine what your cost of doing business is. And once you define what your cost of doing business is, now we can determine how to get an ROI, return on investment. A budget now gives you what your startup cost is. Now getting to know how to garner money for a startup is then what we look at. So one of the things that I've begun to do with some individuals is we have something called a SUSU, or what they call a SOCO. It depends on what part of Africa you're in, or you know what part of Caribbean you're in, but basically it's where a group of people come together and we say, hey, all of us every week or every other week are going to put X amount of money into a pot, and at the end of that week, one person gets the pot.
Oh, yeah.
Then at the end of that week, another person gets the pot. Then at the end of that week, another person gets the pot. One of the SOCOs or SUSUs that I run, a gentleman was able to launch his business due to it. So like, you know, I've had some opposition where people say, oh, I don't want to be part of that. That's just, you know, circulating money. I can save my own money. Yeah, you can save your own money. But the question is are you true, and do you stay consistent toward working on your goal?
Not only that, I mean, part of our issue, or that one of the things we have to reestablish is the trust and that economic mentality.
Working together.
You know, we'll get together and party, but we won't put our money together.
Fight party.
That's it.
Yeah.
If I was selling $50 tickets to a fight party, I can get 20, 30 people to buy a $50 ticket to a fight party, but I can't get people to put $50 together to start a business. That don't make sense. You know what I'm saying?
You have no trust. You have no.
Even when it comes down to stuff like, I'm raising money for Girl Scouts, and I ask you to donate your money. People give $20, $30, $50, $100, $1,000 to the Girl Scouts, but I won't give $1 towards starting something within our community. You know what I'm saying? I'll give money toward fighting cancer. Now my question is, I ain't never seen $1 stand up against cancer and be like, the dollar ain't gonna help cancer. And 9 times out of 10, the research that you're doing isn't really to fight the cancer, because we know that's a bunch of propaganda.
It's just for pharmaceuticals.
Right.
Line pockets.
So my thing is that we have some amazing stuff that we have already happening here. The alchemy, the energy, which are products through ARNA that we need to speak to Chief about getting that into a mass market appeal and creating an actual facility that now produces this stuff, which creates jobs, which now, you know what I'm saying? So when we talk about gross domestic product, it's multiple things that will be doing, but we need someone spearheading and focusing on an area that's going to now be about resolve, bring about remedy. Transportation. I was waiting for you. I'm serious, like really, like that is a key thing within any country. You have to have transportation. Whether it's transportation of goods or services, you need transportation. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole market. So, you know, these are viable things that we have to look at and begin to work together. And for those of you that have ideas and you can't fund the idea, then let's talk about how to create funding for the idea.
Yeah, there's this thing called crowdfunding, where you can do that and you can generate a lot online with that. So that's something we should really, really consider.
Yeah, and even beyond online, why not crowdfunding right amongst our nation? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I agree with you with the online piece, trust me, but I'm saying that we have to begin to get together and work together, because you can't expect something from outside if you don't internally decide to do it as well.
Well, my thing is, I agree, but my thing is, you know, you have people that are in a consumer mentality, so tap it.
Yeah, right, and I agree with that 100%. Right, yes. Yeah. So hopefully this was helpful. I know this was different than norm, but we're going to be doing some things different than norm, because my thing is coming together and going through nationalization, wonderful. I appreciate that. All right, so now how do we economically come up? How do we translate that into economics? Because without that, without economics, this means nothing, honestly. It means nothing because we're still in the same position. We have to have an economic base to flow from. But that economic base is going to be constructed and come about because we are working together. So next week, please come with your mission statement, personal and business. We are going to talk about how business structure is set up, how to create it, what it looks like, how to flow with it. We're going to start talking about some real true to life things that you can add into to do what you need to do to move forward. One of the other things with the SUSU that we were able to accomplish as well is to get people investing into themselves in other ways that supports their life long term. So it's wonderful to be a part of a collective group that's moving forward, that have like minds, that are energetic, that, you know, come with the ideas. Thank you everyone for your consistency. It means a lot, you know, that you're consistent, that you're coming, that you're adding value, that you're adding in. If there's anything that's ever said that's unpalatable, don't let that one thing make you feel like it's a target, because it's never meant to be that way. And let's discuss those things, because, you know, in this, it's hard sometimes when you're presenting, you know, because sometimes you're coming from a space of sincerity, but sometimes you may say things that may come across insincere. But count it to the person's head, not their heart. I remember we had a sister in class one week when we started talking about something, and we started talking about the Haitians, and she went off on this tangent about the Haitians, and It was great what she was sharing. However, you know, it was like it was interesting to say the least. But, you know, there's so much history we're going to have to cover. Whether relative to health. I mean, we got a lot of stuff coming up on health we're going to be talking about. We're going to get into some cosmology, because the science behind how we think and what we do, and the energies that impact us to create those circumstances. We need to gain a better understanding of that. We're going to get more into law, constructing affidavits, constructing correntos, and all this other stuff that we're going to be talking about. We're going to get more into the protocol manual. So we have a lot to cover, and we have a little bit of time. So don't forget Hidden Colors. Actually, I have flyers. I just didn't print them for the 27th of June. I will have the physical flyers for you next week. We'll probably go ahead and send it out via email to start. And the tickets are probably in my inbox by now. It's just they didn't get here in time for me to print them. So we will get those printed and have those available. The way it's going to work is $5 in advance for the viewing of the Hidden Colors video. The actual after party is going to be $10 in advance. So it's $15 in total for the event. Some people may choose, just to come to the viewing, so that's why we split the cost that way. At the door, it's $8 at the door for the viewing and $12 at the door for the party. So it's a total of $20 if you don't get your ticket in advance. So you save $5. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So we are going to ask each person to commit to selling a minimum of 5 tickets. I'm going to ask each person to commit. And the reason why is because we can't build unless we're building. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we have to have challenges. We have to have standards.
Yes. So if you want, you can pay for all 5 yourself, or you can sell them to friends, family, loved ones, whomever. But we're going to ask each person to commit to that. Appreciate your time. Anything else before we close out?
Let me get a copy of this.
You don't have a copy of this. Okay, we'll get you a copy of that right away. I thought you had one. Why don't they have a copy of the protocol?
Still yesterday, don't worry about it.
No, I want you to stand up. No. Anyone else? Anything else? No? Okay. Thank you for your time once again. Hopefully, again, this was helpful, and we're going to move forward with speed and boldness. Oh my goodness! Oh. Let's see up there.
There you go.